Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Tuesday, August 9th, 2022, after 3 p.m. Eastern. We will be having a time for change call this Wednesday night at 9 p.m. The civilization on this planet is going to be experiencing a phenomenal release. I believe that this civilization will be going into an entrance inside. And it really is an evolutionary advance. And it's connected to enlightenment. It's not like that something will come in and knock on your door and give you a box to open and it's all there for you. There are 1,000 paths or more to enlightenment and 1 million doors that we can walk through to experience this moment as divine. It's by choice. It's by choice that all of this, with all of us, is transcending. One of these precious doors is not so easy or obvious to see, yet we unconsciously step through it every single day. It is the perpetual swinging door, and we all know this really well because we all get kind of sucked into it, judgment, and oblivious of how it is a secret passageway to the most enlightened and heavenly state of being. No matter if we are conscious human beings or conscious human beings that are unconscious, that are in the mode, of unconsciousness, the mind is constantly judging ourselves, other people, this world, and anything that it can get a hold of. The mind was born with this master-like judge-aholic power. It can judge anything in milliseconds. You may not have realized this. You may not realize it. Yet, probably in the last 15 minutes, your mind passed 10 judgments on yourself, someone else, or something in the world around you as either good or bad. The judgmental mind is perpetually busy working away at labeling life. And this workaholic is a slippery little gremlin to catch. We are so accustomed to the mind judging everything in this life. It's as if we've been soaking our hands in warm water for 25 years, and we don't realize that it's completely wrinkled and about to fall off. So just to clarify exactly what judgment is for me, judgment is the mind labeling something in life as either good or bad, but not both. It is a one-sided viewpoint of existence, which separates and divides. Interestingly, judgment manifests only when we are living up in the head and are disconnected from our hearts. When we are living from the heart, the mind cannot judge. This occurs because the heart is free from duality, and the mind can only exist in duality, seeing black and white. The heart cannot get hooked in whatever the mind believes is only good or only bad. When the heart is leading the way, we are free from the perpetual prison of the judging mind. If we are to be free from judgment, if and when, we must choose to drop out of the head and into the heart. The mind will quiet and become very still From this space, we can all watch our minds closely and see just how slippery its judgmental habit is. We can see how it tends to avoid what it deems as scary. The mind often believes that if I get what I want, this is good, and then I will be happy. And if I get what I don't want, this is bad, then I will be unhappy. The more enlightened path, however, is for us to understand that in this great, divine, supreme, all-intelligent universe, we are going to get it all. We always, always, always get what we want and what we don't want. For example, we might manifest our dream partner or soulmate, only to later realize that they trigger our deepest, darkest issues in childhood insecurities to surface every day. Or perhaps we spend half our life running in the great societal rat race, being devoted to striving, achieving big, luxurious dreams, and becoming financially free, only to realize later that we missed out on so many beautiful sunsets while we were indoors chasing some fantasy. Life is always both. We get dealt, right? We get death and birth with these bodies. We always get both. And this polar opposite is inside everything that exists. The yin is contained within the yang, and the yang within the yin. The more often we practice seeing, feeling into, and accepting how we always get what we want and what we don't want in this life, the judgmental mind just drops on its own accord. We naturally start living every day in a deep harmony with existence. We become vulnerable to existence again, and in this sweet humility, we can feel the great perfection of this life. We deeply accept that this existence is the expression of the highest intelligence, and that the good and bad judgment plan is the smartest plan available from God to create a spiritual awakening experience inside every being on this earth. See if you can find a single situation, person, or thing of this world that is only 100% positive and does not also have the tiniest hidden negative byproduct within it. If you think you found something like a new flower budding or an amazing sunset, just wait and investigate it a bit longer, as both sides will eventually show. There is always another side to the coin. As the flower will one day wither away and the amazing sunset colors always fade into the darkness. We always get both. The rose always comes with a few thorns, even if they are small. So it's a choice. So my invitation to you today is to free yourself from the judgment habit. And you can do this. Just start looking deeper into yourself and accept any judgments you may have. And boy, do we have a lot of them. You know, it's like, I'm too fat, too short, too ugly, too poor, too dumb, too smart, too much in my head. Welcome all the judgments you have about yourself. And just don't reject, avoid, or judge them. See them for what they are. They are one-sided judgments that you have about you. When you can truly see and welcome the judgment, it will have less energy and magnetic pull on you. In a matter of minutes, the contracting hard feeling around the judgment thought will lessen, drop into stillness, and you will become truly free from it. As far as the welcoming process works, the secret is moving totally into the experience of judging. When you consciously are feeling only one side of the judgment, awareness grows in you. You cannot fall into that old judgment again so easily next time. You can see just how it impacts your mind, emotions, and heart. When you remain in a one-sided experience of this life deeply and fully for a long time, something inside you will soon tire. And then the judgment pendulum just swings to the other side. For example, you may feel and say, I am never good enough. I cannot do anything right. After welcoming that judgment and feeling for 5 to 10 or even 20 minutes, something within you will exhaust itself, release the contraction, and wake up. This smaller, more enlightened aspect inside you will sneak in and perceive that on some level, you are doing everything right, and you are totally good enough. When you welcome judgment, the judgment pendulum soon swings. And this allows us to know what perfect peace feels like. Now, some people may think that always welcoming and acknowledging both the good and the bad in this life is just some boring, fatalistic, nihilistic, uncreative path that only leads to a state of apathy. Actually, it's quite the contrary. It's true. By learning to accept and welcome it all, we find that we are truly okay with everything that is, and feel a more spacious quality within ourselves. We feel we have more time to develop our ability to expand consciousness and relax into our lives. From this expanded space, we dramatically increase our manifesting vibration. We deepen our state of inner peace and become a magnet for the most amazing life situations to occur. You will find that the welcoming process is extremely powerful, simply because it leaves nothing out. It comes from a deep spiritual place inside you that is saying yes to the totality of our existence. We are just not interested in fighting, proving anything, or resisting life anymore. Instead, we move and feel totally fluid, like water, without resistance, force, or control. In this state, it's so easy to realize that God is everywhere and in everything. And we are not talking anything about religion. Don't judge a day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant. Robert Louis Stevenson. Old statement, but very true. It is the deep welcoming mind that creates an enlightened mindset, where we actually feel, see, and understand the divine perfection of this life. We become more interesting people as we stop wasting our energy trying to negate others, ourselves, or continuously be upset with the way life is. In a mind that is free from all judgments of ourselves and others, we naturally appreciate it all. We can see that the glass is half empty and half full at the same time. We can feel this infinite, empty universe all around us, and also sense how the sun is always rising somewhere on this planet, sharing and radiating its brilliant light. Living in the enlightened mindset is like floating in a sea of orgasm. Waves of deep cosmic opening to joy, happiness, appreciation, and ecstasy can actually waft through our bodies at any time. When the mind is not occupied with judgments, we have more energy to make more love, explore our spiritual nature, and taste the freedom that exists at the core of our being. When we can live daily in this enlightened mindset, everything inside of us changes. All the previous pain we've been carrying seems to have mysteriously disappeared. We can naturally and fully relax into our divine, balanced nature. One of the most interesting aspects of all is that this judgment-free, enlightened mind is our most natural state. It is already inside us and exists at the core of who we are, at the seat of our consciousness itself. We can only experience it directly, however, when we have respect and reverence for the perfect balance that exists in everything. When we acknowledge the divine balance within every situation, person, coincidence, accident, belief, memory, and atom throughout this universe, we can open up to it. The more acceptance we have that there's always good in the bad and bad in the good, something deeper inside us lets go, and we can finally relax into our deepest spiritual experience of this life. When the mind calls off the search for defining and redefining what's good and bad, we have an infinite reservoir of creative energy to surrender fully to our souls. This enlightened life is not just about cultivating a deeper relationship with our minds. It's about getting beyond the mind. When we master our minds, we no longer live in fear. When the mind falls from its altar, we rise to the summit. As we learn how to drop into a perpetual state of surrender, allowing the greater intelligence of this universe to run the entire show, we see how every precious moment in this life has this bigger universal force behind it all. In seeing this, the mind totally gives up, and we realize that we have become the perfection that exists within everything. With enough awareness, we can totally stop the judgmental mind habit and wake up from the addiction. Then we'll know what real freedom is like, and nothing else will satisfy more than the freedom. This true freedom is free from all forms of pain. It is the greatest experience of this life. This means the mind can slip back into clinging to delusion and desire, and you don't. The mind might crave wine and yearn to be free, yet you know that you are the one behind it, who is actually already free. You remain the watcher, deeply detached and liberated from the mind's antics. It's the greatest, deeply eternal loving of all, when you realize that you are not your mind. The more we practice welcoming judgments, the easier it becomes to see the mind and how to be free from it. When we can always see the good, the bad, and the balanced meeting of the two, then the struggle of this life doesn't matter so much anymore. The mind soon gets trained to only see balance and perfection. It automatically observes how the good is in the bad and the bad is in the good, and how these two worlds always collide, and there is nothing left but freedom. There is just a pure observer watching and witnessing it all. Rely on the essence of your true, pure wisdom mind, not on judgmental perceptions. Rely on the Spirit and the meaning of the teachings, not on the words. Buddhist teaching. The enlightened, judgment-free mind is always available to all of us and shows up when we release the need to be right and instead create more room to be happy. Happiness through inner peace becomes the goal. Instead of striving and focusing on surviving this life with inner peace as the priority, the dualistic mind soon becomes free from attachment, desire, resistance, and contraction. We surrender to the heart and can actually feel deeply okay with whatever manifests and does not manifest in our lives. This enlightened mindset is not hard to achieve for any of us. It just takes the most deeply rooted devotion to ourselves. How devoted are you to you? This isn't ego mind, this is heart-minded. We must choose to be willing to know ourselves intimately and never stray from exploring further about who and what we are. This exploration leads to a profound honoring of the sacredness in all things in this life. We start honoring that this balanced state of perfection is everywhere, and we have nothing to complain about or try to change in ourselves anymore. Instead, we start worshiping everything around us. We see everything and everyone as the divine in physical form. We bow down to this very ordinary life and call it God. We look into a blade of grass and understand how it's just as sacred and important as our entire galaxy. To remain in a judgment-free, enlightened mind every day, we must choose to look at what cannot be looked at and revel in being totally real with our pain. If we wish to remain liberated, we must choose to be willing to see where we are still in prison, fighting to get out. As long as we are fighting, we are still not truly free. So we must choose to always be aware of the slippery mind. We must choose to never allow the sneaky judgments to take over us again. We must choose to be 100% creatively devoted to continuously being awake, aware, and ready to step beyond a seemingly safe, judgmental world. We must become the black sheep of this world if we are to be truly free. We cannot ever agree with anyone who says that some things are just 100% bad and nothing good at all will ever come out of it. We must stop all movement whenever any judgment arises. We must watch our thoughts and beliefs vigilantly Be totally aware whenever the mind starts believing in some final truth. We must choose to do everything we can so that the ego cannot harden and cling to any opinions formed or thoughts containing right and wrong beliefs. This path takes some serious devotion. Blaming holds you in the energy of the duality of victim and abuser. Forgiving is a direct way of reclaiming your power and free yourself to love beyond judgment, grace alone. Now, some people will tell you how the universe is not already in a perfect design. They might try to make you a believer that you should only get what you want and nothing else. This seems like the ideal situation to be in, right? Well, the spiritual awakening process is always much deeper and more complex than it appears to be. If this universe was set up this way, the great mystery would be gone. If we should never know what a block, problem, pain, or failure was like, we would be without direction, feel perpetually numb, have no longing to dig deep inside our souls to find our life mission, creativity, and spiritual path. This universe is already set up in the most intelligent manner. It's designed so that we can get a good, solid taste of suffering, anxiety, or inner turmoil and use it to awaken with. Whenever we go unconscious and forget the divine, all-intelligent universe is everywhere around us, we instantly suffer. Whenever we allow the mind to form any judgment and register only one side of reality, our problems begin. This universe loves us so much that it doesn't want us to live in any lie. So it wakes us up with a little stress, anxiety, or emotional pain. If we don't stop and drop our judgments, another level of suffering will soon manifest. This pain is our most perfect and most loving teacher. And by welcoming it fully, we are led back to our real state of love, enlightenment, and freedom. The moment we start seeing life as not serious, a playfulness, all the burden on our hearts disappear. All the fear of death, of life, of love, everything disappears. One starts living with a very light weight or almost no weight. So weightless, one becomes. One can fly in the open sky. And people do this every single day. Fly in the open sky. All of this whole transition, this planet, the civilization, all life, the highest supreme value in the universe has always been, always will be, ever beyond and forever, to go within. To go within and to discover that you're the universe. You're the galaxy. And it is you. Now we've all learned. Maybe some have learned unconsciously, right? Others have learned consciously. That seeking outside of ourselves. We've all done it for many lifetimes. What is that it teaches us? It actually teaches us that we go within. We discover who and what we are. The transition of this planet is because of that. When you realize that you, in that body, there isn't anything anywhere in all existence beyond the consciousness, beyond the beyond, meta, meaning beyond, that you are not part of, literally, the God that you are within that body. We have been so conditioned, so directed, that we lost the understanding of who and what we are in these bodies. Not a negative. It's a grand awakening. There isn't one being on this planet that is insignificant, weak, powerless, minuscule. There's not one. Are we honestly going to continually fall for that anymore? I don't believe so. We're changing the planet, the gods that we are in these bodies. It's as simple as that. We're changing the direction. See, we're changing how we live on this planet. And it's collective. It's all of us. It's not a couple. All of us are one. So it's like we all have different references and directions that are all being compiled in a higher vibrational frequency, being concentrated and directed to the complete evolution of humanity. This is what we're experiencing. And you can feel it in your heart-mind in this very now moment. All you do is drop into the heart-mind and be, and focus on the breath. Easy and slowly in through the nose, easy and slowly out through the mouth. You'll feel the vibration in your heart. You'll feel it. You feel it all around it. And you can almost, you're very close to tasting the bliss that you are within that body. The joy, the happiness, which isn't temporary. It's part of who and what you are. And this involves enlightenment, letting go, surrendering. This is all the process. These are the steps that when we choose to do so, because no one's going to force you, no one's going to make you. They could try. But only you have the power to decide for yourself, I'm going to go within, I'm going to discover the God that I am. By golly, I've done all the external, and we all have. Don't let the ego mind think you haven't. Every one of us have stupendously followed externality. Lifetime after lifetime, tens of thousands, millions of lifetimes. Now, see, when we go within and we follow this, we direct ourselves, then the pain and suffering that we've endured for a very long time isn't there anymore. But we know, we've learned, we know what it is. Say, we're not rookies at it. All of us are masters of pain and suffering. That's a good thing. Okay? Because we appreciate and are in deep gratitude for the gods that we are in these bodies and discovering those gods. And when I say it's all about you, it is. This isn't an ego mind thing for any of us. It's heart-minded. It's all about you. It's all about your discovery of the God that you are within that body. Now, we've all been given this, and it's up to us to choose to do so or not. Okay? Maybe not this lifetime, maybe the next one. But enough of us have transitioned collectively. Even the high point of frequency that's moved in to the earth plane. Now, I'm talking about high point energy. I'm talking about beings that are part of us, and we're part of them. You haven't met them yet. Way beyond all of the off-worlders that are on this planet. All of the manipulators of this quadrant of the galaxy. Beyond that, beyond all of it. Kind of like a fail-safe, right? We all know what fail-safes are. We just don't create enough of them because we're too preoccupied with externality. When something becomes so overloaded, right? It's like, you could use a visualization. You got a truck, right? Truck says you can only load so much in the back. So specifications and directions, you read that, right? But you say, yeah, you know, I'm not going to come back and put this in. I'm going to try to force it, load it up so much. So you load it up so much that the rear end breaks. Springs give way. It's kind of like what occurred on this planet. We kept loading things up, ignoring them, pursuing material, physical gratification, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And it built up and it built up and it built up. It broke and it spilled everywhere, permeating, saturating everything. So we had these low frequency points, right? That invaded the planet. And since we were so preoccupied with the external physical reality, we were asleep. We had no clue, no understanding. So this low point energy kept coming in different forms. Off-worlders, rogues, AI, all kinds of stuff. Like attracts like. Well, since we were asleep, the only thing that like attracts like was the low point energy, the pure evil, souls that have absorbed too much darkness, all of that stuff. But we're dark matter, survival matter frequencies. And it kept proliferating the planet, kept infiltrating and invading, but we didn't know about it. And this isn't a negative. We just didn't know about it. And it kept doing that. It kept saturating and permeating the planet until the very vibrational frequency was so out of whack. And looking at the universal structure, that something had to give. Right? Now, we know that there's two directions. We know that in the event that this was allowed to continue, we know what the outcome would have been. Right? Total annihilation. Yet, some of us and others that are parts of us determined that not going to happen. right? We, as a civilization, have a massive mission to continue to immerse ourselves with the gods that we are within these bodies and experience physical material life, right? But not be in it. Experience it, but not be in it. That's the difference. To learn, to experience, every step of the way. To be within, every step of the way. To master this, every step of the way. So as we learn, because we've learned a lot, all of us have through many lifetimes. So as we continually experience, we learn. You know, we learn some bad stuff, we learn some good stuff. We learn comparisons. Right? We know that, ooh, that is bad, and that is good. Okay? And there's good in that bad, and there's bad in that good. Eventually, we as a species and a civilization will come to a full awakening. We will begin to advance massively, exponentially, through the heart mind. And we will do things that right in this now, many would say, that's not possible. And our response is, we are the God. Everything's possible. And anything. Which I said, we created this planet. We created everything. You see, all of those who have structured, built, created throughout existence, they're in whatever physical form they are experiencing, whether biomechanical, whatever it may be, we're part of them. They're part of us. Imagine that the entire universe and connecting universes eventually comprehend the fact that all of us are gods within physical forms, and we're in these physical forms not to be the physical form, but to experience it. Now, obviously, we've been, many generations, many moons, we've been misguided, misdirected, but we've learned. We're beginning to understand as one that we have no limits as a civilization. We have technologies that we are bringing in, we will continue to bring in across the planet, and we will continue to advance exponentially. We will continue to accelerate, not a race, but through intent and awareness. For instance, we are literally, collectively, as one, creating a God-planet paradise with this planet. Now, it is a God planet because all of those within it, living within it in the cities and their species, and all of us on the surface are one. And the only thing that gets away in any, and the only thing that gets in the way for any of us is our ego mind. That's it, right there. Whether it be Pleiadians, Sirians, Arcturians, Andromedans, Zeta Reticuli, feline, Anunnaki, Draco, Reptilian, Golden Pyramid, Avian, and literally bazillions of others. all celestial bodies, all planets, all suns, everything is the gods that we are in these bodies. Some people start small. They'll look at a bush, right? And they'll say, that's the God that I am. Because there's a God force, love, light, energy inhabiting that bush, experiencing that bush. It's guaranteed. Some of the things that we inhabit, right, are very short stays. But we experience it. We experience a blade of grass. You're a blade of grass, you experience a blade of grass. Blade of grass is cut. You leave that physical form. You go into the body of a dolphin. You experience what it's like to be a dolphin. This is what actually is going on and has always been on this planet and every other planet and galaxy and universes throughout existence and beyond. This is what it's all about. So what did we do? Did we create the unpleasantries of the transition of this planet? Did we, as one? Yes. Why? To experience and learn. Now, this is what's so absolutely mind-bending for all of us. Now, we've come full circle to a certain extent, and we are literally transforming this planet in the way it was meant to be. A God-planet paradise where we inhabit physical forms and enjoy our lives. Knowing, right? Knowing through our heart minds the entire transition. See, we know now as a people what is good for us, what really works and what doesn't. Right? How would we have ever learned that without creating the obstacles that we experience so we do know the difference? This is all part of the enlightenment process. And it's a choice for all of us. And more of us are making the choice to go within. And to start understanding and embracing through the heart mind that each of us, the gods we are in these bodies, the power is immeasurable. Visualize any time you, God in the body, light that you are. Take 1 million massive suns, bunch them together. They're in your background. You're front and center. They pale in comparison to your light. That is an absolute fact. They pale in comparison. The light that we are, it's not that there, it isn't anywhere that you look out with your eyes and can see. It isn't there. It's within all the physical forms, the planets, the moons, the suns or the stars, the galaxies, the universes, the super universes. It's endless. And all moving as one, yet experiencing uncountable avenues. within the one. And then we learn that the creative process is a process of surrender, not control. And we discover this. We will discover it. If you haven't discovered it yet, you will. Many of us created certain emotional and psychic shields as children. We really did. In order to survive our childhood. And these walls were necessary at that time to protect us and keep us safe. Yet, as adults, if these barriers are still up, they are blocking us from feeling love, compassion, and intimacy with others. They're also stopping us from manifesting true financial freedom, abundance, and even profound health in our lives. And the only reason this is, any of us that still feel stuck in our relationships with others, money, or ourselves in any way, it's because our brilliant light is still hiding behind one of these old, heavy, unnecessary shields. Bad thing, no. It's what we've done. And at the time, it's a good thing. And you may ask yourself, aren't there some situation where it's good to protect myself? Well, it all depends on how spiritually advanced any of us are and what lessons we are still needing to learn. And the question that we are open to ask ourselves, if I know that I am an infinite being that will never ever die, then what is there to defend? That which is real cannot be harmed, so why the need to protect it? Yet, if you're still healing wounds inside the ego and creating an identity that needs certain boundaries, then it will feel blatantly obvious there is something that needs protection. You may need to be as strong as a mountain to stand up for your rights in order to one day let them go. Yet, as a mountain, right? 99.99% of the time, you are not surrounded by angry, hungry tigers. And this defense mechanism is just an old, unconscious habit blocking you from total liberation. And I know this goes against all of the teachings of humanity for the most part. It really does. The need to defend ourselves is what actually makes our egos appear real. The ego, however, is like your shadow. How ridiculous would it be to see someone practicing their shadow from getting touched by sunlight? This is how we look when we defend our ego. If we want and choose to become a super conscious, awakened spiritual being, then it is time to stop protecting our egos. Any type of defending that any of us do is just coming from a place of fear, insecurity, and weakness. Defensiveness is about doing no harm on any level level to any being. It is truly living from a place of peace with all beings and will only manifest peaceful situations. And the proof is in the pudding and eating it. We have all seen this in our lifetimes. Haven't we? We've all seen this. And many of us, if not all of us, have experienced it. Whenever you get upset or triggered by others, this is a real simple technique. Become like a flute that is hollow and light and allow your breath to flow through you and your triggered feelings. Who knows? Their negative words may start to sound like music to your new ears, even if you are in a long-term relationship and have been hearing sour notes for years. Simply allow that song to play on through. Breathe into it, through it, and let your body feel it, and eventually release it. I'll join you in the meditation. I'll return to close us out. Take an easy, slow breath in through the nose, and an easy, slow breath out through the mouth. Be still. Certain negative events will always happen to us to cause us to take a glimpse at a bigger reality. If we can look at them with eyes wide open, we will always notice one thing. We actually created these challenging and frightening events to give us an experience of coming home. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night and the following morning. We will return here Wednesday, August 10th, 2022, 3 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call, 9 p.m. Eastern to continue our Time for Change call.